Greetings and welcome to the training video on key setup steps for your new CRM database. So in this video, we're going to go through some key setup steps. There's another video that also goes through additional setup steps. So the setup process is slightly different for everybody, depending on which areas of CRM you're using, which accounting system you're linking to, etc. So this video will take you through the basics. So the first thing you're going to want to do with your new database is come over to the menu on the side, and you'll see that I can hover over this to expand it, I can move to contract it, and I can also press this arrow at the top to fix that in place. So what we want to do is come into this admin area here and expand it, then come into this section called General. So this page is a bit of a beast. There's a lot of different options in here that we can enable, disable, that will affect all the other areas in CRM. So for now, all you need to do for a new database is come to this company information section and put in your company information. You can also drag and drop or add a logo in here. So what's going to happen is this information is going to pull through to a range of different templates in your system. So your web templates, your PDF templates, etc. So get your details into the system here. We also want to scroll down a little bit further and come to the invoice settings area. So in here, you're going to want to throw your ABN, your ACN, and also your bank details into the system. So again, this information is going to pull through and show on your invoices. So once you've done that, we can come down to the bottom of the page and click on the update button to apply those changes. Now that's an important step because I've done that myself. I'll come in, make a lot of changes on this page and just exit out, and it hasn't saved. So as we go through different topics of CRM in other training videos, we'll come back and revisit this page a couple of times to look at how the settings here relate to different areas of the system and the things that we can play with. But for now, throw your company information in, come and pop your ABN, ACN and bank details in, and scroll down here and click on Update to apply the changes. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is go and set up teams inside of CRM. So we click on our name in the top right hand corner up here next to the bird of notifications, and we come and click on Teams. So teams have a couple of different purposes inside of CRM. So first of all, it's a way of treating a group of users as a group rather than just assigning records to individuals. So you can see in here I've got a finance team, an invoicing team, a production team, etc. So I can go and assign records to those teams. The other thing that we can do with the team is give people permissions for what they can see, do and touch inside of CRM. Now this is important. So before you go and start inviting users to your system, every user must be attached to at least one team. So if a user is not a member of a team, they have no permissions inside CRM. So when they go to log in, they'll get an error message that says to contact you as the administrator to give them permissions in the system. So an important first step, is to basically go and set up your teams in the system. So give some thought to how you want to break users up into groups, what they need to do inside of the system, and then we can go and create teams. The other thing that you can do with teams is I'll click here to create a new one. We can also get some generic email addresses into the system. So basically an email address that doesn't belong to a person. So if you've got generic emails like info at, sales at, quotes at, inquiries at, etc., what we can do is create a team and give a team that email address. That means that when we're sending emails inside of CRM, on the list of senders here, we'll be able to pick from users, but we can also pick from teams that have an email address. So that just means that as well as sending things from individual users, we can send from those other generic email addresses as well. So I just clicked on this new team button here to go and set up a new team in the system. And what we'll do is give this team a name, and I'll call this the warehouse team as an example. So what we can do here is go and throw a generic email into the system, and this is an optional step. You don't have to do that at all. So we could say warehouse, and I'll just put in example.org in here. If you've got a phone system connected, you're able to link an extension to Teams as well if you'd like to. Now this allowed opportunity type section here, we might come back and visit that later because that is tied to opportunities in CRM. So opportunities is your lead or your sales pipeline. So what this option lets you do is limit the opportunities that different teams can see in the system. But before you can use this, you need to have gone and configured your opportunities and your settings inside of CRM. So if this is a brand new database, this won't be relevant for you yet. We want this active box to be ticked so that we can use this team. If we want to retire or deactivate a team in future, we can just come in and deselect this box so that it's no longer available for use. What we also want to do is, if you'd like to be able to assign records to the team, we want to tick this assignable box here. If it's just a case of opening a team up and getting an email address into the system, you probably don't want to assign records to it. But if we want to use this to group people together, we want to tick this assignable box here. Now, if you've got a lot of teams in the system, you're probably going to want to put a description in so that you can see what the purpose of different teams is and who's supposed to belong to them. So once we've added in some basic information here, we can click on Save and Close. So what we get is a large permission matrix. So what we've done is broken different areas of CRM into different sections here. So what you can do is click on this permission button over on the side to expand an area here. So the choices that you'll have when it comes to permissions, so down the left-hand side we'll have the area or the function in CRM that the permission relates to. Across the top here, these are the types of permissions that you can give or prohibit from people. So whether people can view records, create them, edit them, delete them, export and import them, whether there's dashboards in that area and whether people can view them, and whether or not the merge duplicates function can be used. So you can see that you can be quite detailed about going and setting the permissions in your system. So there's a couple of ways to go about it. So we can come through and we can start individually ticking boxes, but I'm going to be there for a while doing it that way. Instead, I can use these boxes across the top here and just click on View, and it will tick all of those boxes, click on Create, Edit, and tick all of these, and then I can go and deselect some areas if I want to. So there's a quick way to basically go through and just go, yep, they can merge duplicates, but I don't want to let anybody delete or import, export, or see dashboards, and you can move through the areas that way. So give some thought to what people need to be able to do in the system. Come here, click on permission, and then go and start applying those permissions. Once you've done that, you want to come down here and click on the update button to apply those changes. Again, I've spent a lot of time coming in here and ticking boxes and not hit that button, and the change has not saved. So we update that, we apply the changes. Once we've got our users in from the accounting system, we can go and add them to a team by choosing users here. The other way that we can connect people to a team is by going to the user record. So before we do that, let's go and have a look at how we connect our accounting system, which is going to bring in the users that we're going to license in the system. So what we want to do is come over to the admin menu again and come into this integrations area here. So you'll see we've got some shortcut buttons across the top that basically break down the available integrations into different segments. So if I'm interested in e-commerce, I click here. For email, I click here. But what we want to do is come to the accounting section first. So depending on whether you're connecting MyOb or Xero, the instructions are slightly different for each of those. So we've got some written guidance on how to go and connect those up in detail. You can also access that here in CRM. You can click on this little question mark button here and choose online help. That will then open a link to online help. If you come into this area here for setup guides, we've got an entire section on accounting. So clicking here, this is going to show you how to go and set up MyOb and Xero and connect them to CRM. And then most importantly, how to configure your data sync settings moving forward. So what you want to do is come in here and connect up MyOb or Xero. What that's going to do is pull all of your information from the accounting file into CRM. So that process is not selective at all. So everything that you have in your accounting system will come across to CRM. So what that's going to include are current and past employees. So they'll come into the system, but then you can choose who actually has a license. So once you've connected up your accounting system and it's brought in your company's contacts or your inventory, your sales history, your suppliers, etc., we can come back up and click on our name in CRM here and come to the Users tab. So what we can do in here is decide who gets a license to access CRM. So for each user record, we can click here and there's a little box that says locked. So if that box is ticked, it means that that person does not have a license for CRM to access it. If that box is not ticked, it means that a license has been assigned to that person. So we can basically come through the user records and choose who's got a license by toggling the value in that box. What we can then do is, because you've already set up your teams, we can come in here and we can go and click and add this user to a particular team in the system. So you can see I've got plenty of teams there to pick from. So also note that a user can be a member of a couple of different teams. So there might be situations where that's appropriate. So just know that if that's the case, the team that has the highest permissions basically wins. So if they've got full system access on one and a lower level of permission on the other, the full system access will basically override that. So you can come in here, link your users up to their teams. Once you're done, you can then click on this resend invitation, and that's going to send an invitation over to them saying you've been invited to access this database. Please go and set a password, and then they can log in. So just make sure that you've got your teams set up and ready to go first. Otherwise, inviting people before they're linked to a team will just result in an error message. Now, sometimes the login email doesn't come across from the accounting system cleanly. If we need to update this, we can click on Change Login and we can go and update that email address or add one to the system if required. So that is users and teams in the system. So connect your accounting system. We can come and create teams, link those teams up to users, decide which users are licensed, and then go and send out those invitations. Now, as well as pulling in information from your accounting file, you might also have data from other sources that you want to import into the system. So in various areas of CRM, so companies, contacts, opportunities, etc., over in the top right-hand corner, we have this little Excel button here. So if you want to import information in, click on the Excel button and you can download an import template. So that template, so in the case of companies, that template has a range of different columns in it. Every column represents a field on the company form. So what you can do is add your data to that template, save it as a CSV file, and then click here to go and import that CSV file into the system. So there's a range of different areas you can do that in CRM. So what you want to do is come and click on this Excel icon, grab the import template and see where import functionality is available. So that's a quick and easy way to get your information into the system. The next thing we're going to look at is customizing your templates. So inside CRM, you've got a range of different templates. We've got web templates, PDF templates, email templates, and SMS templates. So one of the first things that you're going to want to do is come into this admin area and expand it again, and come into this area here called web settings and expand it. So this is where all of your web templates live. So what that means is basically with different types of records in the system, so quotes, orders, invoices, requests for quote, and purchase orders, you have a PDF template, an email template, an SMS template, and also a web template. So if I click on quotes here, what I'll do is go and pull up a quote in the system that hasn't been accepted yet. So with the quotes, we can click on this button, Preview as Customer, and what that's going to do is open up the web version of this quote. So that means that we can email or SMS this link out to a customer. They can come in here, accept it, add their signature into the system, and basically process that order online. If you've got CRM connected to one of the payment gateway options, when the order is accepted, the customer can also be taken to a payment screen to plug in their details, and that process can pull all that data back into CRM, creating a payment and an invoice. So what you're able to do is go and set up different templates for different areas in the system for your web templates. So the process for doing this is pretty much the same for all of these different types. So what we'll do now is go and create a new web quote template and see how the process works. So I can click here to add a new template to the system. I can have multiple different types of templates. So in quote settings, you can see if I come back here, I've got bucket loads of different templates in the system. So to differentiate them, I need to go and give the template a name. So we'll just call this one quote template. If we have multiple templates in the system, we can go and choose which template is used by default. So I can click here to make this my default template. Now note, with a default template, you can still have the option to change it. So if I come into a quote here, I've got a field on here that allows me to select the template. So by default, if I've got that specified, it will be populated here, but I can also click here and go and choose another quote instead if I'd like to. We can also choose whether or not part numbers are visible to the customer. So if we want that, we can tick that box here. Now what we can do is go and bundle this web template with a range of other templates in the system. So it means whenever we pick this particular quote web template, we can also go and pre-select a particular PDF template to go with it. So in the system, we've got a couple of different options that you can select from. So we've got just the standard quote PDF, or we've got the standard quote PDF that includes product images if you have them in your system. You can also go and customize your own templates and go and link them up here. So this is particularly useful if you've got different brands that you're running inside of a system, because it means that we can go and package up all the templates to do with a brand. So same thing for email templates, you can go and create those, and we'll have a look at that a little bit later in the additional setup steps. So select an email template, and you can also go and set up and select an SMS template in here as well. Now, when the customer is using the quote, what we can do is specify that they have to accept our terms and conditions before they can place an order. So if we come back to the online quote here, if I deselect this box here, you can see that I can't accept the order. It's not until I say, yes, I've accepted the terms and conditions, that I can proceed. Now with your terms and conditions, you can either have it show in a little pop-up box here, or we can have a chunk of text at the bottom. So once you've ticked that requires terms and conditions acceptance, you can come down here and click on the Terms tab. So here you can select how the terms are going to display on the web version, and then you can go and throw the terms into the system. So that can be as a URL, you can put text in, and you've got the formatting toolbar here so that you can have a play around with how that text shows up. What we can also do is if we're providing discounts, we can determine whether that discount shows as a dollar amount, a percentage, or both, and go and tick those boxes. If we have product images in CRM, we can choose whether or not they're displayed in the web version. So you can see here in my example, I'm selling a coffee machine and I've got a picture of that, so that's come through here. What we can then do is go and change basically the format of what this quote looks like. So what you can do is go and drag and drop a logo into the system here and then start customizing the colors. So this little preview over on the side here is going to update with the choices that I'm making. So I can click here to change the colors for different areas on the quote. Now what will happen is if you throw a logo into the system, it will go and give you some suggestions for the color scheme that you should use based on the colors in your logo. So I'm going to completely ignore that and choose some festive colors. So in here, I can basically go and make my selections, and you can see that I've got a very festive quote preview sitting over here. Coming down a little bit further, I can also change how the information is displayed here. So how do I want it aligned? I can also go and change fonts and heading weights as well. So once I'm done with my changes, I can hit on Save and Close, and then we can see a preview of what this quote is going to look like. If you then want to go and test that out, you can come into the system, open up a quote record, and then go and select the new quote template. So what we've got here is I might need to refresh that to get it to bring through the new template that I've just created. So if I refresh that and I hit on Edit, I will be able to go and select the new quote template in the system. So that's the one that I just created. I can then hit Save and Close, and then I can go and preview that as the customer, and there is my festive quote. So the process is pretty much the same for sales orders, invoices, requests for quotes, and purchase orders. So on a quote, you can have customers accept that online and go through to a payment screen. On an invoice, there's also a button that can be clicked. The customer then goes through, and if you've got a payment gateway connected, they can go and pay that invoice online. So definitely spend some time coming in here and setting up your web templates in the system. Now, another really important area of CRM is the settings area. So while we're in the admin area here, we can come down to settings and click to expand it. So what this is a list of different areas in CRM where there are drop-down lists and we can customize the values on those lists. So as an example, let's hop into companies here and I'll click on the new company button. So what we'll see is there's a range of different drop-down fields. So I have a life cycle stage, I've got a company type, coming down a little bit further, I've got industry types, I've got a primary group, I've got sales regions, I've got customer grades, etc. So if we now come back to this settings area and click on company settings, we'll see that that's where all of these fields live. So I can click on a field like the life cycle stage and go and customize the options that appear on the list. Now, this is a really important step because this is where you can get your terminology and your process into the system. So that's going to make it really easy for your users to work with CRM because the terminology is all familiar. And then when it comes to segmenting and sorting your records, this is going to make it a breeze because once you've got these choices in the system, you can use filters and layouts to pull out information in any number of ways. So you can come and edit these lists. So we can click on a field to access the options. We can click here to go and add an option. We can click on an existing option here to edit it. And we can also delete options off the list if they're not applicable. So just note, if you're trying to delete something off the list and you click delete and you've got data attached to that particular option, the system will say, nope, sorry, you can't do that because we've got records that are already linked to that. So if I wanted to delete that option called customer, I'd need to go and find all the companies that have that applied to it, go and change it to another value so that there's nothing linked to that option, and then delete it in the system. So definitely come in here and customize these choices. So whilst this list in settings is rather long, for a new database, come in and do your company settings, do your contact settings, and then you can come back and look at other areas in future. So as you go through different training modules for different areas of CRM, just like the general page that we looked at earlier, we're going to come back and look at these settings and how we can apply them to different areas in CRM. So an important step, company settings and contact settings should be customized. So what we're going to look at now is how emails work with CRM. So if we come back to this admin area and come into integrations, we can click on the email area up here and see that we've got a couple of options. So if you've got either MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, we can connect up with one of these services and pull in your data into the system to sit in the marketing area and companies and contacts. So we can pull in your subscribers, your audiences, your list, your campaigns. We can also create lists inside of CRM, push them out to the EDM, conduct a campaign and have that pull back into CRM. So we've got some connection instructions for setting those guys up. But let's focus on emails out of CRM at the moment. So all over CRM, you'll notice that we have this little email button. So we're able to send emails out of the system quickly and easily. So in order to be able to do that with a new database, we're going to send the emails out for you and we'll send them via our mail server. If you'd like to use your own email domain so that the emails come from your email addresses rather than ours, you need to come into this Tall Emu email section here, click on activate, and then go and put your domain into the system. So what that will do is create, so if we click here and say you'd like to send emails on behalf of your own domain, we can click add. What that will do is then spit out some DNS entries. So these need to be given to whoever's doing your mailbox administration or your IT. They go and add these into your system, and then we have permission to send emails using your domain. So that's part one of emails. Part two is if you're in a Windows environment and you're using Microsoft Outlook, we have a program you can download and run inside of Outlook called Inbox Insights. So I'll just show you an email as an example here. So what that does is it sits inside of CRM and connects Outlook to your database. So you'll see I've got these little shortcut buttons here in this Tall Emu area. So what that means is emails that I receive into Outlook, I can click here and then sync them into CRM. I've also got some quick shortcut buttons. So if I receive an inquiry, I can click here and it will create an opportunity inside CRM. I can also quickly create a task or a support ticket, and I can also have a sidebar here that goes and looks up the details for the email sender and basically displays a shortcut of their record over on the side here. So I can quickly click to open that record in CRM. I can also scroll through the various different tabs here to see pertinent information about that particular contact. So for emails, the two parts, go and set up your domain in CRM so that emails will send from that. If you're in a Windows environment, go and download Inbox Insights to connect your Outlook up to CRM. So you can see with emails, we're pulling data in from a range of different sources so that all of that's coming back to CRM as our central source of truth. So let's just review the key setup steps that we've been through so far. So the first thing that we want to do is come into admin and general, add your company information, add the ABN, ACN and bank details, scroll down and click on update to apply. We then want to come up to the top right hand corner and come and click in the Teams area and go and set up different teams so that we can then attach users to them so that they have permissions in the system. Coming back to the admin area and integrations, we want to come in here and connect our accounting system first up. That's going to pull all of our data in. We can then come back to this area here and decide which users are licensed and then go and connect our users up to our teams. If you've got additional data to import into the system, depending on where you'd like to put that in, come into the top right hand corner, click on the Excel icon, download the import template and see if import is available in that particular area. Then we're coming back to the admin area and into web settings. So you can come in here and go and customize as many different web templates of different types as you'd like so that you can start using those straight away in the system. What you should also do is come down to this settings area, come into company and contact settings and basically make sure that this reflects your terminology and your process in the system. Once you're done with that, we can go and get emails in CRM sorted. So we can basically go and send from our own domain here and download Inbox Insights. So that is a rundown of the basic setup steps for CRM. There's also a second video that goes through additional setup steps that aren't applicable to everybody, but these are basically the core tasks to get your system up and running.